Hello, beloved. Let's continue. As I was speaking last about fear and how fear is a huge risk factor in suicide, now let's look at shame, which is often a partner with fear. One of the reasons it's a partner with fear is that those things we fear often the most are psychological things and social things. For example, if I am afraid that my family will find something out about me, it is because I'm ashamed of whatever that secret is. Shame is one of the hardest things to find evidence of, because we try our best to keep it in a closet. Under the heading of shame would be regrets, things that we've done in the past that we just really wish we hadn't. Could be ways that we've broken the social norm and are afraid that we have embarrassed our loved ones or in some way dishonored ourselves. Shame can also be associated with the hopes and dreams we thought we were going to accomplish and now we aren't. So many different ways that we acquire shame. So again, looking at just my situation, was shame part of why suicide looked so appealing this morning? Yes, absolutely. I am a highly experienced counselor, spiritual advisor, relationship coach. I really know my stuff. I am good. I am also very good at intuitive guidance. Therefore, it does not make any sense that right now I am challenged in the area of abundance, that I'm looking at $320 between me and being homeless. I won't be homeless. I have friends who have clearly said, you will never be homeless. But that actually is embarrassing. There's a part of me that says, wow, how embarrassing that I am a professional. I have my doctorate, for God's sakes. I have been studying for years. I have worked for the governor. I've been in politics. I know metaphysics. I know how to manifest things, and I'm not doing it right now. How embarrassing. Why would anyone want to listen to me? Why would anyone want to gain wisdom from me if they knew my financial status? That's one hell of a lot of pride behind that shame statement. But there are a lot of us on this planet that don't want to be that vulnerable. We don't want anyone to see that we are not the perfect vision of abundance, of awakening, because that would mean we were a failure. I'm ashamed of being a failure. Wow. Now, in this moment, I don't feel that way. But this morning, I sure as heck did. I felt like a failure. I have a book coming out here in a few weeks called Play Your Way to Awakening in Abundance. And it's about 10 games that we played as children and lessons that I learned through that. Well, the title itself says Awakening in Abundance. So if I am not abundant right now, then why would I have a book with that title? Now, you'll find as you read the book that I am not promising that I know how to make you abundant. But I'm also recognizing that if I'm awake, then why would I feel suicidal? So how embarrassing that I am this highly skilled counselor. I am an expert, quote unquote, in relationships. I know metaphysics deeply. I am so divinely open that I hear guidance throughout my day, throughout my weeks? How is it that I know all of that? And I felt suicidal. I was suicidal. I diagnosed myself as a counselor with 20 plus years experience in diagnosing suicidality. I was there. Shame. I don't want people to see this skeleton in my closet. Over the years, I have adopted a philosophy that we need to take our skeletons out of the closet and dance with them. That anything it is that I am afraid someone might find out about me, I need to first own it, and then I need to get it out of me and dance with it and be with it and accept it as part of who I am. There was a time in my life when someone would call me a name and I would cringe and I would want to prove I was not that word, whatever that word was. Let's say controlling. Then I would go out of my way to prove I was not controlling. Finally, I decided to own it. There is a part of me that is very controlling. In fact, that's the part of me that wanted to commit suicide. That's the part of me that said, I know how to do it, and my kids will be taken care of, so I don't have to worry about that. My kids will find love. They're surrounded by love. Basically, the part of me that's in control, that wants to be in control, was saying, let me dictate the terms of life. And that's what we're really trying to do. And let me do it in a way that keeps my secrets, keeps my hidden shames. So what's the best way that I can get past those hidden shames? Is to be vulnerable, to trust somebody, to take on that truth of me and still love me. I am so incredibly blessed. I am loved, so deeply loved. I have multiple people in my life who I can tell the deepest of truths about myself, and they still love me. In fact, it's because I am so loved and blessed that I'm able right now to be this vulnerable around my areas of shame. Imagine a young woman who's just had an abortion. She knows that the community she lives in doesn't believe in abortion. She was terrified. She didn't know how to live with a baby. And yet now she's afraid. She lives with the fear daily that someone's going to find out she had an abortion. If she doesn't find someone she can talk to about that issue, she may decide it's easier to stop living than to live with the secret. When we create systems of judgment where we make people wrong for their choices, we create systems of shame. Systems of shame create separation, aloneness, fear, and ultimately become huge risk factors for suicide. What are you ashamed of? What are the people in your life ashamed of? It's really important to pull those out and look at them. Yes. Momentarily, I was ashamed that I don't have the financial abundance that should be in place considering my expertise. I'll tell you, I really am one hell of a visioneer. I know my stuff and I know how to tap in intuitively. But if you're using my financial status as proof of that, you'll never want to hire me. you won't listen to the wisdom that comes through me. So, I'm ashamed. I had that shame. Now, what's the truth? The truth is that I am perfect. I am absolutely perfect as I am. I don't know why I'm experiencing this, honest to God. But I do know it serves purpose. I know this is somehow part of my abundance. This morning, I didn't know that. I've been blessed with so many people that love me, that remind me of my magnificence. But there are a hell of a lot of people on this planet that don't have what I have. And so imagine if I have all of this and I'm at risk for suicide thoughts and ideations. Whew. What about someone who's alone? What about that person on the bus who's sitting quietly in the corner, has head bowed, won't look up to greet people, seems to timidly move into himself more every time another person gets on the bus, shrinks and shrinks and shrinks as the bus gets fuller, as if trying to become invisible? That person is probably dealing with some form of shame. And I'll tell you what, that's a high risk.
It's time to dance with your skeletons. Shame snakes its way around the heart like a boa constrictor. Then it squeezes the life out of those who hold on to it. You are not alone. Literally, for any issue that you may carry shame, there are hundreds, thousands, and perhaps millions of others going through a very similar thing. If you don't feel safe sharing your secret shame with a loved one, try one of these things. Call a crisis line. Look up a support group for your issue. Research the subject online and find an online community. See a counselor, visit with a minister or a spiritual advisor. But no, you are not alone.
Let's talk about the issue of homelessness and poverty. As I said, I'm close. I know I will not ever be homeless. I have too many people who love me. But I certainly know what it is to not have the finances right now to do what I need to support myself and my family. But every day when I get on a bus, I encounter at least one homeless person. Homelessness and financial issues are an increasing risk for suicide. As our homeless rates become epidemic, suicide among those who are homeless or near homeless is also epidemic. Why? Well, certainly part of it could be the fear that I just won't survive another day. Part of it is, however, the shame and the embarrassment of being so often considered the lowest form of life on the planet. You know, the cockroaches and the mosquitoes of our world. Pests. That's a human soul. That's a beautiful being. I have been so blessed by the homeless people in my life. I get on the bus and I get hugged, I get kissed. I hear their amazing stories of love. And yet I know that they're at far greater risk of suicide than someone living in a mansion with, 8-figure, 6-figure incomes. And certainly they have higher risk. So how do I support that person? Maybe I don't have the money to take that person and relieve all their financial issues. But I do have the ability to look that person in the eye, to wrap an arm around or a hug around, to say, you matter. You're valuable. A young man of my heart came into my life exactly that way. Met him on the bus. He was singing like an angel. And he was couch surfing. And I know he was thinking about ending things. Now, He's off traveling another state and really growing and thriving. And all I did was give him a hug. And he cried into me, and we became dear, dear friends. I love him with all my heart. Can we do that for our homeless? Can we let them know they are valuable? Can we be the homeless? Can we recognize that whatever pain I see in my brother is actually in me as well? That I could be right there in that pain at another moment. Right now, maybe I'm at peace again in my day, but tomorrow morning, I could be suicidal again. Tomorrow morning, I could be ecstatic. I could be anywhere in that zone, but so could my brother.
Value your brother and your sister. Self-esteem issues are a huge factor in suicide risk. Homelessness is an assault against every aspect of a person's identity. There are many programs available for help. These do include the National Hotline for Homeless Veterans, local homeless shelters, community outreach services, faith-based ministries with food, clothing, and financial support. But really remember, it only takes a smile and a look in the eye to make someone feel valued.
Oh, and then let's look at the spiritual arena. You know, actually the spiritual arena can indeed be a risk factor in a couple of different ways. One is, depending on my belief about the spirit and what happens with my being after death, sometimes my philosophical or spiritual perspective will say, hey, you know what? You have another go-round. Just get done with this one. Finish it, come back again. Or I may believe that when I die, I'm going to heaven, and why not? You know, the famous preacher and writer Rick Warren wrote the book Purpose-Driven Life and other books. His beautiful son committed suicide. And basically, he at one time told his father, you know, I'm going to heaven. Why can't I just go there now? You know, his son dealt with severe depression, and he just wanted to be done with the pain and the suffering. So why not go to heaven now? It makes logical sense if you listen and think about it from that perspective. If I think I'm coming back, well, that could also be incentive. It's like, okay, you know what? Let's get on to the next adventure. This one hurts too much. Let me try again. You know, this morning, I'll be very honest. I'm not worried about my soul. I know my soul is safe. Absolutely. I have no concerns. Do I know if I'm going to go to heaven or if I'm going to come back and repeat it again? Do I know if I'm just going to become energy? I really don't know. It's, you know, that's a philosophical thing no one can prove. I don't know, but I feel very confidently that my soul's safe. And so, in some ways, that gave me the freedom to consider the escape of suicide. Now, do I want us to go start scaring people so that they won't think about suicide? No. No. I want us to understand that that's part of the freedom of becoming spiritually awake, is that you do recognize that it is a journey, and you can take the journey any direction you want. So there is a risk that as I grow in my spiritual awareness and as I grow in the safety and security of my soul, and I have to live in the duality of feeling so at one with the divine and at the same time challenged by the daily experiences on this planet, I might be tempted to say, you know what, I'd rather just go be with God. This is not worth it. And so there is that. The other way that our philosophical and spiritual perspectives can impact the risk, the potential risk for suicide, is that if I don't know my purpose for being on the planet, I may think I have no purpose. Why are you here? Discover your purpose. Discover what it is that is your career. Discover what it is that you are here to bring that's unique. We hear it in so many different ways. I mean, the whole positive development philosophy, which has become a billion-dollar industry, is full of find your place in the world and make your mark. And so if I don't know what my place is and I don't feel like I'm making my mark, perhaps I will be tempted to just say goodbye because I don't have anything to leave. On the other side of that, I might come to a philosophy that says, all I really have to do is be. There is nothing at all that I have to do and to accomplish except be. That's my philosophy. I believe that I am creating in this world exactly what I came to create. If my book gets finished and published, or if my books get finished and published, if this video gets published, anything that I do, doesn't matter if I really do it or not, because I'm here as an expression of love. What I came to bring, I will have brought by the time I leave. And so, if I'm confident in that, and I feel like it's time to leave, I might be tempted towards suicide. If I don't know why I'm here, and it doesn't seem that I have any purpose, I might be tempted towards suicide. What if I have absolutely no spiritual connection at all? So what does it mean to have a spiritual connection? That is not the same as a religion. It means that I know how I'm connected to the wholeness, the allness of the universe, of the world, of the cosmos. How am I connected? How am I a valuable, vital part of it all? How do I connect to you? How do I connect to the divine? How do I connect to the person across the ocean? How do I connect to my neighbor? How do I connect to the animals outside? How am I connected to everything? I personally have a belief in the creative energy. Some call it gods, Allah, goddesses. I really don't care what the word is, but I do believe there is a divine intelligence that we are all part of, all one of. But what if I have absolutely no understanding of how I connect to the world? So I have no spiritual belief, I have no spiritual path. I just kind of feel like I'm here, and when I die, I'm gone. A little bit like being rudderless in a big ocean in a small ship. So when things become challenging, if I don't know that there's something bigger that's holding me, I could be at risk.
Allow space for the unique spiritual path. There are more than 7 billion people on this planet. Each person is creating his or her own life journey, including the development of a spiritual path. Faith beliefs across the globe have different interpretations of the impact of suicide on the individual soul. However, what we do know is that guilt and shame increase, not decrease, the risk of suicide. If someone is facing a spiritual crisis, here are some things you can do. Encourage him or her to find a community of people with similar beliefs. Ask questions about his or her current beliefs and how they are changing. Offer to explore areas of spiritual interest with him or her. Or just continue to offer your love and support even if you are not comfortable with his or her spiritual path.
What about whole person well-being? So this is another one of those areas that's a risk factor for suicide, and that is wellness. And by that I mean physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual wellness. If I am not physically well, as I've previously indicated, that could put me at risk for suicide because I'm tired of the pain, I'm tired of feeling sick, and cognitively I can no longer really comprehend what's going on in life, and escape seems the best thing to do, and I will do that through suicide potentially. What if I am not socially well? That means then that I don't have a community around me that supports me. I don't have friends that I trust and that trust me. I don't know where I feel safe. Many people who are quote unquote coming out of the closet with lifestyles that are different than the social norm are at increased risk for suicide because it impacts their social community. They lose friends, they are in new friendships where they don't really have the trust yet, so they are not feeling socially safe. That's a risk factor. Mentally, brain damage is actually one of the high risk factors for suicide activity. Why? Because when we have brain damage, we don't have the same ability to process information. We are at higher levels of aggression, we're at higher levels of impulsivity. What about if I'm using some form of a substance that would alter my mental abilities, take down my inhibitions? Then I am at higher risk of creating harm to others and to myself. So drugs and alcohol can absolutely be a contributor to my mental and emotional health. And so let's talk about emotional health. As I prefaced earlier, it's very important that we feel all of our feelings, that we not suppress them, that we allow them motion and emotion. If I am using a substance to numb my emotions and not allowing them to be processed, then I run the risk when that substance wears off of actually having a crash and feeling the emotions more deeply, more heavily. Many people have talked about this, that they stay high on some substance because they don't like the down, the low that comes after it. High risks of suicidality when I'm doing that. And then we've talked about the spiritual well-being, and if I don't know where I am spiritually, then that does put me at risk. If I don't have a spiritual community, if I don't have a spiritual philosophy. And it doesn't matter what your spiritual philosophy is. You can be in a Christian background, you can be in any faith system background, you could be Wiccan, you could be pagan, you could be all about the sciences, and that's where you feel connected. It really doesn't matter, but in some way, you have to find how you connect to the allness of life. Because if you don't feel connected, what's the reason for staying? There's not a motivation there to stay.
Pay attention to your own well-being. The vast majority of suicides are inspired by a complex number of factors. It is important to maintain an integral approach to well-being to ensure that your life is thriving physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. Within the physical realm, you may want to separate your assessment by your physical body and those things that support your life, such as finances and living environment. Take a moment right now and rank each of these areas of your life with a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being totally dissatisfied and 10 being absolutely satisfied. Recognize that where you are in this moment is the perfect launching point for where you want to be.
So let's take just a few minutes and talk about the motivation to stay. It's very easy to judge somebody else's attempts at suicide and say, I would never do that. Well, why wouldn't you? Why would you not be there? Well, because I believe in God. Well, so do I. Well, because I have friends who love me. So do I. Well, because it's wrong. Well, I don't quite agree with that. But that, even if that is your belief system, believing something's wrong doesn't keep us from doing it. There are many things. I speed, go 5 miles, 10 miles over the speed limit. I know it's wrong. I'm likely to get a ticket at some point, but I still do it. So just because I think something's wrong doesn't mean I won't do it, right? What keeps you from committing suicide? What keeps your loved ones from committing suicide? 1, being aware of where you're at. Where are you at? Physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. In that physical zone, where are you financially? What's going on in your physical well-being, your lifestyle. But where are you at? Being aware of where you're at. And then where are your loved ones at? In that same area, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. You know what? If you have a teenager and that teenager is saying, I don't have any friends, don't brush it off as just some teenager comment. Explore it and explore ways to build that social network. A lot of the things that we say are the hints of our cry for help. What's another thing? Talk. Man, if you feel like your friends are going to be so tired of hearing you say that you're down or that you're challenged or you don't know what to do with this situation or that situation, find someone, call a suicide crisis line, get a counselor, talk to someone like me. But talk. Why in the world did I do basically an hour and a half of vulnerable video? Because I needed to share what was inside of me, or I was going to become an explosive bomb. Do not look over and eagle eye someone who has made an attempt as if you're watching for the next one. My loved ones are going to watch these videos, and if they start asking me every day, how you doing? If they start watching to see if I bring in any ice cream because I'm feeling like I need comfort food, if they start watching everything I do and making me feel like I'm under the glasses, you know what? That actually increases it again. So what can they do? They can tell me they're available. They can remind me of how valuable I am. They can watch gently for signs that maybe I'm going back into depression. But more than anything, they can hold an awareness for me of my abundance. They can hold an awareness of me, for me, of my magnificence. They can hold an awareness for me of my safety. If there's a way they can reach out and help with my needs, then they can do that, right? I mean, if they can help with finances, if they can watch a kid occasionally, if they can do things to help alleviate some of the stress, then certainly they can do that. And you can do that. Look for the practical ways you can show love to the one in your life that you feel is at risk. Don't push. Don't prod. Respect them, but make yourself available. And if you can't make yourself available, that's okay too, because maybe you have too many stressors. Look for other resources where they could get the availability. They know. They can talk to you. They will talk to you. But the only way they're going to talk to you is if you can hear them without judgment. And if you can hear them without shoulding all over them. If I tell you I'm tired and I'm feeling depressed and you fill me up with you should think, instead of tell me, let me hear what you're saying, you're gonna shut me down. So watch what you do with your shoulds. Watch what you do with your own philosophies of how I should run my life. Or how that loved one should run his or her life. Be in a space of openness to learn with us and through us. Oh, loved ones, there are so many more things that can be said. More than anything, be omniamorous. Be willing for love to show up in every way that it can. Celebrate your own magnificence. Celebrate the magnificence of those around you. Don't forget to tell your loved ones that you love them, that you honor and cherish them, that you appreciate them, and know that not all of us will choose to stay And if we don't, it's not your fault. Right? If we commit suicide, it's our soul saying, I'm done. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Like I said, this is not a suicide note. This is a celebration of vulnerability. I hope that what I've shared in this experience has helped you. If you would like more information about how I can work with you, I do work with adolescents, young adults, one of my favorite groups to work with. I work with people in transition. I understand it. I get it. Visit me at CeeJayAdams.com, CeeJayAdams.com. If you'd like to donate to the ministry and to all that we're doing, there's a donation button on my page. I love you. Let's thrive together.